you.
I
Yes.
didn't start
Okay.
anything, touch any.
That's interesting. Well, Ray might have started it, so we were chatting. Okay, so at 6:18, sorry guys, the Sustainability Northwest San Pedro Sustainability Committee is coming to order. Do we have any introductions? Anybody want to speak? We have Mary Chan, who is a committee member, Gwen Henry, myself, and Tom Mater. We are all the committee members. And we have John. Welcome, John, to the committee. Is there anything that you want to speak about at this particular moment? Because we can be in a public comment period right now.
No.
No? Okay. Alan, do you have anything to speak about?
I could talk for the rest of the evening, but you probably wouldn't like that.
Okay. Has everybody looked through their email and found the packet of information? Tom, I will continue to read things for you.
Okay, I'm sorry to put you to extra work.
All right, hold on.
Christian has his hand up.
Yes, Christian.
He's muted.
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yes, I wanted to invite you all on Monday mornings, weather permitting. We're trying to ramp up the Science Center farm. We're starting to plant our summer crops, including tomatoes, and then we're also expanding the compost that we have in the back. So if anyone's ever interested, contact me or contact Peter. It is a pretty safe and open environment since it's outside. So we do practice all the safety protocols though. So
what is the
please join
location
us
for that?
Yes, it's 2201 Berrywood Avenue. It's the closest intersection is Westmont and Berrywood. It's kind of near the Home Depot. Off of Gaffey.
Oh, I know where that is. Okay. What time on Mondays?
Approximately 10 to 12. Sometimes we stay there a little after till 12:30 or 1. Sometimes we get there a little earlier at 9:30, but 10 to 12 are the key hours.
My problem is I still have 5 children living at home, and they all need driving around to these crazy public schools. So I'll do the best I can. I would love to come.
Well, thank you. So that is our Northwest site, but we are thinking about doing a Saturday site at our Central San Pedro site. So if you want to make the journey to Central, then we are planning a Saturday.
Where is that?
Yeah, the Central one is on 6th Street between Mesa and Pacific, kind of across the street from the Grand Annex.
Oh, yes. Okay, I can picture it. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Bear with me, I'm still trying to get this to cooperate. I'm trying to open my minutes. It wants the screen to be open. Here we go. All right. I'm just juggling windows. Thanks everybody for your patience. It's just been very difficult. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is there is a potential letter. I prefer to reach out to Central, San Pedro, and Coastal before beginning anything. Let me open that one up. And let's see, here we go. And I will try to screen share. It's a new share. Here it is. Okay. So everybody's quite aware of the ships that are pretty much bottlenecked out in the harbor. I think that the reports have gotten to about 30 ships at any one given time sitting in the harbor. And I don't know if any of you are aware, but just yesterday, the port workers joined with the truckers in striking. There was a short strike, a symbolic one, because they are taxed to their limits. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about illnesses and deaths, but on top of that, the hours are just grueling. And you know, this pandemic has been very bizarre. For the first 2 quarters of the year, there, the ship and the cargo containers plunged. Everything was in closure, and now there's a surge. It's gotten beyond all records. So what we have currently is kind of a predicament where, well, Alan, when was it? Yeah, back in the 2000s, there were bottlenecks and lots of ships out in the harbor, and of course all that pollution, both, idling ships as cargo's being unloaded, as well as everything that's out in the harbor. The pollution was off the charts, and it looks like this might be a new normal. People are used to ordering online and having their material delivered. The old Costco over on Sky Park has been transitioned over to an Amazon hub, a distribution hub. Companies are making material investments in this new economy of delivering straight to the home. And we're buying a lot of merchandise, and it's all coming into the port. So this may be something that's going on for the future. So Chris Valle took a picture of this, and he reported that there were at least 20 more ships behind him. So just kind of interesting. So what we have here is this is an older model of the goals after that big lawsuit in 2007. The NRDC was able to get a big win for Wilmington, and it created the Clean Air Action Plan, which has actually benefited everyone. What is this? So year over year, the emissions have reduced in the port, but it may be interesting to find out what has happened with the ship idling. So the idea is to possibly request, I'll come back to the TEU units, possibly put in a request to find out what the 2020 air pollution data report is from the South Coast AQMD, and those sensors, as well as the sensors from the Port of Los Angeles that are around the area. There is another group, the USC Center for Health Journalism. They funded a bunch of sensors as well back in 2018, and they've been looking at this data very carefully to see the impacts of pollution in and around the port, and it's been very enlightening. But does anyone know in particular who produces those overall reports with the South Coast AQMD data, the Port of Los Angeles. Is anyone aware?
Doesn't the port produce them?
I'm not entirely sure, but before
They
proceeding,
publish them.
they publish it. Okay. Do you know
Yeah,
kind of?
they may or may not produce the reports, but they do publish them.
They do publish it. Is anyone familiar with the time frame and when that happens? Does it take an entire year, or is it
I
done?
think it may be annual.
Don't know.
Anyway, Ray made the suggestion, and before writing a letter about the concerns about the traffic in the port, to try to get that air pollution data through regular sources, an email. The reason being,
We lost you.
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The reason is that this bottleneck and what the impact on the port workers and the truckers, we may have a new normal of particulate matter. Let me, as you can see, the US EPA had set a 2021 deadline. I set this on Do Not Disturb. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. Okay. So in 2021, they had a deadline of particulate matter of 2.5. That's a particular number. But almost immediately, back in 2018, California sought to extend that date because they didn't think that they were going to make it. I do believe that it is possible, once we get out of this pandemic and people get back on the roads, with the increased port traffic and bottlenecking, that bottlenecking will be a continued pattern out in the harbor, because people, over the years, Amazon, Alibaba, all of those big companies have just exponentially increased their online ordering and home delivery, year in and year out. So what we have is a year where, because of forced seclusion and fear of going into stores, we now have goods and products that have been ordered by everyone, by millions and millions of people, and it's all hitting the ports. And this may continue for the future. The transition, people who never considered picking up and ordering online are now doing it, and they're hooked. I got to admit it myself. I've done it myself. I feel bad about it.
Gwen,
Yes.
may I just step in now? What do you want to do about it? Because we all understand, we've all, I'm sure, have ordered something online this past 14 months. So what are some of the action plan you'd like to discuss for the committee to discuss?
Well, in this regard, I think that instead of sending a letter out, I'm going to find out who exactly compiles the report and when it's going to come out, and try to do that. But try to also have some discussions with Coastal and Central regarding this bottleneck, and if we need to make inquiries with the port if there are any adjustments that all of the parties that were involved in the original it was many elements. There were many elements in order to transition the port and get that bottleneck out back in the 2000s, and to actually put in a lot of technologies that cleaned up the emissions from ships that that were still dirty. And now the whole world is kind of on board, but we still have the problem of even if you and I, Mary, stopped ordering anything, there's a lot of other people that don't think twice about it. So it's going to happen. So I've highlighted all of the people. These are all the parties that were involved in that original plan, and there were others, of course, but at some point, hopefully, we can ask if there's going to be an assessment of having to accelerate more improvements or do something in order to get rid of that bottleneck. I don't know what's, I feel terrible for the port workers and the truckers, because there doesn't seem to be an end in sight.
But Gwen, it's not about having an end in sight. I believe it's to have a sustainable solution where you're saying that this bottleneck problem should be better supervised or regulated. Is that right?
Sort of, but we can't come up with a solution by ourselves. All I'm asking for right now is to see what you have to do is have material evidence that this is of pollution, and you have to have material evidence that this is going to be a continued pattern.
Okay, so for what I understand, we're actually looking for more specific data so we can understand this and then ask the right parties to make a regulation or a targeted plan to reduce the environmental hazards. Is that right?
Essentially. So instead of sending a letter at this moment, the action, I believe I'm going to I just wanted you guys to be aware of the situation. And I'll be talking to the other neighborhood council. Central is greatly impacted by this. Possibly the
When is the next joint committee? Do you know when the joint committee is?
It's probably in the first week of May, but Richard isn't this. Let's see, the second Thursday. It's potentially the second Thursday, potentially. Anyway, so if anybody has any thoughts about it, the reason I'm bringing it to you guys is if there's any thoughts, if there's anything in particular that can be done about this.
Yeah, I would agree that you need more data before you can take action. And I know at least here I live in Coastal, and I haven't seen any dramatic increase in particulates or other air pollution. I have a little monitor.
Okay.
And it hasn't been an increase here.
I believe that probably the greater impacts are in Wilmington and in the Long Beach area. Prevailing winds.
Yeah, but
kind of go in that direction.
I would expect that they would be that every place would increase in proportion to what they had before, and that hasn't been the case here. So maybe the impact is less draconian.
Right.
But we need data.
Yes, data. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to hold off on that. Let's see. Let's go back to new share. Go back to the agenda. Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Chuck, the next thing on the agenda was discussing updates on Rancho LPG site. The only thing I can think of is putting out an actual letter, making an inquiry a formal inquiry into whether there's going to be a transition in ownership or if that's on the table. Chuck, are you here? Did he leave?
Chuck is not
I
here
thought-
anymore.
Yeah, okay. So I guess we will table that. All right. I was
Okay.
hoping for, oh, well, Tom, you're here, so we do have quorum. There's 2 items. Yeah, thank you. We've got 2 CISs. They're fairly simple. One of them is about vehicle idling. Pretty much this is a time-sensitive thing. It was begun about 2 years ago, and with the pandemic, it kind of just sat there. We just want to get on the record to possibly, you know, as a CIS, that we do support an action to discourage, to put out education in the metropolitan Los Angeles area to not idle your vehicles. That the amount of vehicle idling that people do is tremendous. I mean, it's its own monster. You know, people sitting around and waiting for their kids at school, and now with hail riding services, you know, Uber and Lyft and that kind of thing, as well as again ordering online and having the deliveries. There's increased vehicle idling, and once everybody gets back to what they're doing, and another thing that's an impact is homelessness. People who have their vehicles, if it's a cold evening, they may turn on their engine just to keep it warm. People who have seniors for pickup and drop off. People with disabilities do need services, and there may be a lot of idling there. But so let me go to that item if I can find it. We can vote on it. Hang on, guys.
Can I have a little discussion on this? Or
Sure.
Is it open?
It is. I just wanted to bring it up on screen and then read it out.
Yeah,
Just-
because we talked about this last meeting,
Briefly.
and I believe the meeting prior, so it's been an ongoing issue. Well, another point is that, yes, certainly those folks who are more into conservation and environmental sustainability will naturally do it, like I do. However, those folks who don't care will not, because unfortunately right now, as you know, I work at Lens Crafters in the Macy's, and when people go on break, because of COVID, we can't eat inside. So that means a lot of folks are going into their car and taking their break. And guess what? They're turning on their engine with the air conditioning and the music because they're taking their break in the car, because that's the safest place. So unfortunately, I've seen an increase of car idling in the shopping mall or a strip mall. And Christian has his hand up next.
Christian.
Unmute.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So Mary is right. We have discussed this several times, and I just thought maybe a new, more concrete thing to start thinking about lobbying for would be, the state has various funds that I think that they're diverting from cap and trade and also to reach climate goals. So maybe this can be diverted to the technologies that we previously spoke at. I think the joint sustainability committee meeting, I brought up this one truck modification that port trucks can get where they can have their air conditioning still on and the engine turns off, but it has this little electric component that allows for that. And then, so that'd be cool if we could really ramp that up. Maybe we can find one of those funds, one of those climate funds or cap and trade funds, and then start to talk up to either the state senator or the assembly member for the area and ask them if that could happen, and then see if it could be upscaled to just regular cars.
Well, Paul Koretz's motion, it's Council File 190604, it doesn't have that kind of scope. What it originally was is that certain cities in California started to explore the idea of fining people if they are caught idling. Palo Alto had put in a measure that it was a 2-year measure. The first year to create warnings within the city of Palo Alto, and if somebody is idling for 5 minutes, I think it's 5 minutes or more, they would receive a warning, a friendly warning. And then after a year's time, they were assessing to see, based on that original warning, if they can go up a level in possibly fines. But they do recognize that there are certain vulnerable groups that might suffer the brunt of such a decision.
Like people picking up kids from school.
Well, when you pick up kids from school, you're actually polluting the air. It is known, and they've done sensors. Children are being subjected to tremendous exhaust from
Well, that may be true, but there's no attempt to stop it.
Well, and yes, the ticketing ideas. So this particular motion does it asks, let me go back to the original motion. Bear with me. See if I can find it. Too many things.
Because maybe it's one thing to just bring awareness, and that's obviously always the first step. If I didn't even know, oh yeah, idling, oh okay, let's be aware of it.
Here we go. I'll bring it up. Hold on here. Thanks, you guys, for being patient. I just have way too many things. Okay, here we go. This was the original motion. It basically says New York has adopted very strong parked vehicle idling regulations and enforcement into its city administrative code, which requires that no person should allow their engine of a motor vehicle to idle for longer than 3 minutes while parking, standing, or stopping, and not for longer than 1 minute near schools, with the exception of emergency vehicles and engines necessary for loading, unloading, and processing operations. New York City enforcement in some cases is achieved by citizens with the use of an app. If a complaint is approved, the person who reports it can get paid 25% of the $350 fine, or approximately $88. Yeah.
Vigilantism, that's the ticket to that.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, it's $1,000 if you can catch somebody dumping garbage, dumping couches and things like that on the street, and you can capture identifying information. You can get $1,000 out of it.
Oh, you can get more than that if you report somebody for cheating on their income tax.
Yeah, well, there we
Send the
are.
Social Security number, and you get a big check back.
Well, there we go. So $1,000 if somebody dumps a couch, and you can identify them and provide proof. Anyway, so 8 states have enacted legislation that bans parked vehicle idling for all vehicles, including Texas. So California has focused its idling laws on heavy-duty vehicles like diesel trucks. And Harbor City, Danielle Sandoval had a letter communicating some difficulties with diesel trucks in her community still idling near schools. That was last year, or the year prior. It's kind of a dead zone. Anyway, so Paul Koretz moves that the City Council request that the City Attorney, in consultation with LADOT and other relevant departments, prepare and present an ordinance drawing upon best practices from New York City, New Jersey, California's existing heavy-duty truck idling regulations, and elsewhere, to restrict parking vehicle idling to 1 minute or less, and to do so in a way that does not negatively impact low-income community members. I further move that the City Council direct LADOT to prepare a robust marketing campaign in order to provide widespread education about the dangers of parked vehicle idling and the new regulations. So I will stop the share there. You get the idea of where he's going with this. And let's go to, let me find my thing again. Sorry. Let me find the CIS. La la. Here we go. Okay. So I did put in, I mean, pretty much they're just going to see if we approve it or not. I was a little concerned about the potential impacts to low-income community and disadvantaged communities, especially the homeless, because it's, you know, despite the language in the motion, this is a very large city, and they're likely going to still get the brunt of it. So I put in this if we approve this, I suggested an amendment, but you guys, it's up to you if you want to do this or not. The Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council does not support an ordinance outright banning idling. We call on the LA City Council to support Councilmember Koretz's motion to fund a serious educational campaign and add language to do the following. 1, consider additional pathways out of gas-powered vehicles and behavioral altering incentives for disadvantaged communities. Create a pathway for safe and environmentally friendly driving behavior, which discourages the habit of texting or calling while driving, or pulling over and idling while texting or calling. Because people do that. In order to not text or call while driving, they'll pull over and idle while doing that. There might be a like the app that they talked about in New York where people can narc. Maybe there's an app that shows that while you were driving, there was absolutely zero activity on your phone, that you did not text, call, or do anything during your trip, perhaps. Or if there's something that will encourage disadvantaged communities out of their gas-powered vehicles and in transition into more efficient vehicles and I don't know, something that will encourage people who are living out of their cars, you know, where that the homelessness issue is just tremendous. But anyway, I left it kind of open. Other than that, it pretty much is a blah blah. I wrote a lot of other information. It is of utmost importance to address the issue of poor air quality in the harbor area. Poor air quality tremendously impacts the communities near the trucking roads, rail cars, and cargo ships parked outside the breakwater of the harbor. There is a year-over-year projected increased volume of cargo to be moved through the ports of LA and Long Beach, a volume increase which appears to be happening sooner than anticipated. Over 250,000 children, I wonder why, and 1.1 million adults in the LA metropolitan area reportedly have asthma, with low-income communities of color particularly at risk. It is a public health issue. Car idling often impacts sensitive locations such as schools, hospitals, and senior centers, as well as emissions choked areas such as garages, parking lots, and travel hubs. Also, the increase in ride-hailing and food product delivery services continues to leave parked vehicle engines running. These two new business models can potentially increase vehicle idling, and data needs to be collected while projecting vehicle idling during metropolitan Los Angeles daily activities. Anyway, this is stuff that I'm putting it as informational for you guys. It could be a side letter, or it could be just removed entirely. Idling is a 0 mile per gallon activity which creates 3 million tons of unnecessary CO2 and other pollutants in California annually. It is counterproductive to be concerned about car MPG standards while ignoring this 0 MPG behavior. Turning off the engine while not driving should be as second nature as turning off lights when leaving a room. So beyond the simple goal of education, the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council requests that this motion be amended with language to consider a pathway out of gas-powered vehicles and incentives for disadvantaged communities. Households with seniors, a disabled family member, low-income and unhoused families certainly bear the brunt of polluting vehicles and will struggle to transition to cleaner solutions. Addressing texting and using cell phones while driving should also be on the radar and part of education and potential incentives. Pulling over to the side of the road and idling has an environmental cost when attempting to be safe and pull over. So, I mean, that doesn't have to be there. I just wanted to know, is there a motion to amend this?
Mm-hmm.
Mary, you motion to amend?
I have a concern about this document as is.
Yeah.
Because number one, a lot, like I mentioned before, a lot of folks who are not mindful about the environment, even if they leave a room, they will leave the lights on. So you're asking a host of huge communities of folks to do something that they don't really want to do.
Well, New York.
And learning for me.
So
Okay.
do you want to go to the New York model?
I would like to study a little bit more about the New York model before we even put it here. And here's the reason why. Because I don't know anything about it. I don't want to put, I need a little time to do that.
Okay, well, sorry. To be mindful.
Okay. The second part is, do you want to let me finish what I need to say?
Sorry. Yes.
If you don't. Because the big concern is, of course, in San Pedro with all the trucks, like you said, I like how we really want to address that first, because I feel the pollutants from the trucks makes a very big impact commercially. I really don't see the folks who pick up their kids are going to turn off their cars. while waiting for the kids. I really don't see that. But however, for gas and commercial vehicles and trucks, I see that with being more impactful because it's a commerce. And the emission is so much bigger. Do you see what I mean? It's looping too much into one document for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just so you know, this doesn't address trucks. It's only addressing regular vehicles, cars, and people. The truck ordinance is already there. There already is, it already does exist, and it has curtailed truck idling in residential communities and other areas. There are fines on that. Buses, also school buses, for example, have very strict rules on not idling in front of schools. All of that has been taken care of already. This is the second component of it, which is to specifically address your standard car owner, vehicle owner.
So it's every vehicle, it's an everyday citizen thing. So maybe that's something we should put into this. Following the already existing what was that? Maybe was it against idling of commercial vehicles already in place? Then Pedro Neighborhood Council wants to go one step further by addressing it to all of the car drivers and so forth. I'm sorry, I'm not good with the language today.
Well,
You see what I mean? Because we're just an idea, a step back if they don't know it, is like, hey, this is already in place. So that's a commercial entity. What about residentials? Well, we can do this. But again, I really want to study the New York thing, so I'm sorry I haven't had a chance.
well, it's either either you support the idea of once again, let's go back to it.
Mhm.
This is the scope of the item. Hold on, bear with me.
Because you also put disadvantaged communities. What is it? Why does it have to be that way? Why does it have to be? Why does that have to be included, Gwen?
It doesn't have to
Or
be.
number one?
It doesn't have to be. The concern was that in Los Angeles, where we have a tremendous homeless situation, and there are many people living in their vehicles, that's not quite the same case in New York City. New York City is, you don't have an entire contingency of people living out of their cars like you do in Los Angeles. So their enforcement is a little bit different. Anyway,
But what does that have to do with?
what I'm saying is, okay, so let me go back to Paul Koretz. This is what is being moved. The city council requests the city attorney, in consultation with LA Department of Transportation and other relevant departments, to prepare and present an ordinance drawing upon the best practices from New York City, New Jersey, our own existing heavy-duty truck idling regulations,
Right.
and elsewhere, to restrict parked vehicle idling to 1 minute or less, and do so in a way that does not negatively impact low-income community members. And they also move that the City Council direct LA Department of Transportation to prepare a robust marketing campaign in order to provide widespread education about the dangers of parked vehicle idling and the new regulations. Either you agree with that as is, and that's where we can go with this, or we can go with some of the caveats which I had mentioned. I threw them in there. We can just fully and wholly support it as is, or say perhaps consider additional pathways out of gas-powered vehicles and behavior-altering incentives, some extra solutions in this ordinance, where the LA Department of Transportation in their marketing campaign come up with some more inventive things that have not necessarily been figured out by New Jersey and New York. Anybody have any thoughts? What do you think, Tom?
Well, I don't know. I think it takes more thinking.
Mhm.
Okay. Well,
I mean, it sounds like a dodge, but it's hard. It's hard to have the idea right off the top.
okay. So, because unfortunately, we're kind of coming up to the deadline. It was opened up 2 years ago, and the pandemic kind of put this on the shelf. I believe that if we don't vote on this by next board meeting, it's not going to. It's not going to. I think it's June,
Well,
actually.
maybe we need another meeting in the interim after.
So
Prayerful thought.
let's see, what is it? This one. Let's see. I'm going to find it on the online again. I'll just click on it. And the deadline for this is June 5th. So that'll be before our next board meeting. So
That's about 8 weeks.
our board meeting, well, May is if we don't consider this and we just hold off on it, our board meeting is on May.
Madam Chair.
May 10th. Yes, Christian.
I definitely hear what Mary was saying, and I do think it would be hard for some people who are so used to having to rely on air conditioning during the pandemic and during the hot months. But I'm definitely supportive of this in concept. Obviously, it's great to conserve energy, and we don't want to pollute more than we are, and we definitely don't want to overburden some populations, but because it requires kind of like an individual behavior change, which is so hard, I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be an uphill battle. Seems like this is kind of preliminary, like there's no hard set language from the city yet, so there will be time, but I think the only way immediately I see this working is if it were to have some sort of monetary incentive for the person reporting. I would guess that people would be interested in that if they could derive some sort of an income from it. So if that's included, I think it has a chance, but if that's not included, I think at this time it's probably not going to go through. That's kind of my feeling.
This sounds like warfare. Something in my heart just says the civil war is coming.
Well, all we would be supporting here is that LA Department of Transportation come up with a plan and a possible solution with that model. After that plan is created, then it will be then it will be assessed by the city council and possibly amended and things like that. But it's just putting it forward to the LA DOT to explore the idea. And all I thought that we might do is possibly, if we said yes, if we voted yes to support the LADOT, exploring the best portions of it, knowing that disadvantaged communities need to be kept out of the fray, but that LADOT actually be able to make that study, and that we support the study, that we would support the analysis and attempt to come up with some kind of legislation to help discourage it, or to just do it as a an education effort. And LADOT put a big campaign out there to get people to stop idling.
Yeah, if that's the case, if they haven't even done the study yet, I think that if you're gonna be for it, just pass it as is, because
Yes.
since it
Yes.
hasn't even happened, we don't want to overcomplicate it and deal with amendments at this point, because the law hasn't even been drafted, or the potential law hasn't been drafted. So that's the time where I think we probably want to amend it. So if you're interested in it, I'd say just pass it as is.
Yes.
So-
I agree with Kristen.
Okay. All right. So all right.
Thank
Does anybody motion to?
I a motion, Mary.
Okay. And I guess Tom, do you want to second that, or what are your thoughts?
I'll second it.
Okay. Right now, what I have here, Christian, does that mean that I remove items 1 and 2, and that we do not?
Yes, I agree
amend-
with you. We remove 1 and 2 because it's not something that we really have studied, have any information. So I feel like we might be going down not a good path, Gwen.
Oh, so LA consider additional pathways for incentives?
We don't need to add any language like Christian have said.
Yeah, well,
Because
they're only going to see, they're only gonna see yes or no. Yeah.
Please, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We don't need to, Gwen. We need to just support the council member. They've got a good idea. It is about an environmental conservation. And right now, I'm also looking at the New York Senate, the law that you've sent me to. It is an interesting idea. So as long as we can follow the environmental conservation bill, and then maybe they can vote into law similar to New York. Okay, I think that's done. And then later on, we can do amendments, because obviously LA is so different to New York City. I also used to live there, so I understand that.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I have just changed this to, the board voted to potentially approve Koretz's council file. Let me get rid of the if amended. It's out. The Northwest San Pedro Council supports LADOT exploring an ordinance. We call on the city council to support Councilmember Koretz's motion to fund a serious educational campaign. Good?
Yes.
All right. So, calling for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 3 ayes. We did it. So we'll send this to the council. Our maybe.
Council.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Saved. All right. Second one. Let's do it. Now this one I got into an extended conversation with Ray. So I was unable to get further with this. This is about sorry, hold on. Let me open it. Oop, wrong one. This is about our parks and recs, exploring exploring the use of zero emission equipment for everything from, getting the, raking, blowing the leaves to lawn equipment, cutting the grass, you name it. But there is zero emission technologies out there. And the city of Pasadena actually has successfully gone to all zero emission equipment, and they're seeing benefits, air quality benefits out of it. It's quite pleasing. Anyway, let me try to get this up. This is also from Koretz. So he motions here, South Pasadena was piloting a 100% gas and emissions free municipal park. And they went into partnership with the South Coast AQMD, who made emission-free equipment available to public agencies at reduced costs. So South Pasadena did a partnership with a particular group that helped to transition them over. They participated in the cordless electrical lawn equipment loaner program for 3 months. Additional benefits beyond the GHG and air pollution reductions included 50% reduction in noise pollution and cost savings of $900 per month in oil and gas. After this successful pilot, South Pasadena has maintained all of its parks with zero emission equipment since January 1st, 2016. So they've been a showcase for this model. Now, Paul Koretz has moved that the council direct the Department of Recreation and Parks to report within 30 days on a strategy and timeline by which it can pilot and evaluate the use of zero emissions maintenance equipment at parks or golf courses in neighborhoods where improved air quality could be most beneficial. So I'm not, sorry, was somebody? My only concern is that South Pasadena partnered up with a commercial company and who set them up. I don't know what the rules are in the city of Los Angeles, how they would be, whether the Department of Parks and Recs is prepared to take bids or offers from different companies on giving them a promotional sampling of the equipment for 3 months.
If I could interrupt, perhaps you remember years ago when they said, listen, we're going to get rid of these gasoline-powered leaf blowers and all of that, and gardeners can't use that anymore. It's got to be electric, and it's got to be plugged in. And you know what happened? Remember what happened to that? Nobody enforced it even once. Gardeners all ignored it. Ha ha, so sad.
Well, it wasn't legislated. It actually wasn't legislated. That's a difficult situation, and that's still a battle. That's still an ongoing battle.
If it wasn't legislated, then what was it?
Incentives have been there have been incentives to gardeners.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's a really.
I thought it was a law that was just ignored.
No, that's a really unfortunate situation. What happens is that there are some gardeners who go out with gas equipment that they have been given by a business person. It's like they go out and they do the work with somebody else's equipment, and that person gives them gas-powered equipment. And what would happen is, if this was legislated and it was fined, the person who has been handed whatever equipment has been given to them is the one who will get the fine, not the business owner
That's right.
who handed the equipment in the first place.
That's right.
Well, it becomes a dilemma then, doesn't it?
It sure does. So
I mean,
what
we could say, so what?
they did is LA County, South Coast AQMD, and a lot of other organizations kept promoting to gardeners for trade in your gas-powered lawn blower, for example, and get this brand new one that's zero emission. And you know, there's only it's just, you know, if you've got a business owner who doesn't want to spend a single dime on something that makes him a bunch of money by farming out a bunch of employees to blow, you know, to go and garden, and then he gets a cut of the deal, he's not going to be interested in switching over to zero emission stuff. It's a particular business model that has put a real kink in it. And
well, couldn't you say the same thing about the ships in the harbor that, oh, well, if they, you know, for them to not to dirty, it's going to cost them some money. Well, oh, well.
Well, I will say this, that everybody that I see up and down my street who has their own blower has gone to a battery operated one, which is.
If I could interject, I would just say even the professional lawn care, yard care folks that I see, the great majority of them have gone to electric.
Oh, have they? I guess I'm not looking hard enough.
Well,
It's been years. It's been 20 years, hasn't it, since that was initially established?
Well, Alan, unfortunately, I do know of a particular gardener that works in the back here, and they've got a gas powered weed whacker and a gas powered blower.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everybody has converted. I'm just saying that I've seen a lot of people and a lot of gardeners using the battery powered or rechargeable electric.
Yeah.
So the message is getting out, and the incentives are having some impact.
Good.
Well, I'm sure the gasoline is easier for them rather than go around and look for an electrical outlet. You know, drag the cords around.
They can just recharge them. They're battery powered, so they can charge a couple batteries overnight and swap them out during the day.
Yeah. Okay. Shows what I know.
My only concern with this particular motion is that the council is directing the Department of Recreation and Parks to do this study. And the simple fact is they're so understaffed. I'm not really sure who it is that is supposed to be doing that reporting. For the most part, if you're leaving it to a particular, like maybe the staff at Peck Park, for example, that's not very realistic to expect them to report within 30 days on a strategy and a timeline in which they'll pilot this.
Well, I agree with that.
Is there any solution to that, or should it just be supported? And yeah, Christian.
Thank you. So you're right that maybe 30 days isn't enough. Maybe you could support if amended to 60 days. Maybe 60 days would be enough, or you could even go as high as 90. But I think that in principle, this should be a no-brainer, especially since this is only concerned with the city property. And even during the pandemic, the city has a multi-billion-dollar budget. So it's in the thousands of millions of dollars. So they have enough time and resources if they wanted to figure out that this is feasible. And I've used zero emission equipment at Feed and Be Fed for about a year now, and it works very well. you can get a battery or multiple batteries and you can swap them out. So it'd be almost akin to having a gas can. So this one is definitely doable, I think, but you're right. Maybe you support 60 days or more for the department to get it all written down and set.
Okay, so let me really quickly come up with a phrase here.
Gwen, I have a question.
Yes.
When South Pasadena created this pilot program, who was it they, I mean, is there somebody we can ask in the
Yeah.
city management office to find out more so we can learn a little bit more?
Well, give me a minute. It was the American Green Zone Alliance. It's called AGZA, AGZA, and you can Google that up. So, for example, one of the neighborhood councils,
Right now.
to your idea, Mary, recommends that the American Green Zone Alliance, AGZA, be the organization that helps the city of Los Angeles with their zero emissions maintenance equipment pilot project in order to avoid common problems that may arise in transitioning untrained staff. AGZA is the certification organization that helped the city of South Pasadena achieve their groundbreaking zero emission operations for all city properties, and is the most qualified and experienced consultancy to ensure the city's program success. The ENC supports the city's pilot program and urges to implement AGZA's Green Zone certification throughout its parks and golf course. I would say to implement AGZA's Green Zone certification in a pilot project.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I guess I think it's, again, I don't know anything about this organization company, so I need to read a little bit more from.
Well, this came through the NCSA, actually. This was the NCSA being the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance. And these were discussions that were, what I'm relaying to you now is some of the discussions that were there. AGZA, it really is an amazing thing that did happen in South Pasadena. I went through the study of that, just looked at their story, and South Pasadena is now, I think they even got a prize of some sort, some kind of civic award, city award for this, for having accomplished this. So give me a moment. I'm going to stop that share, and I'm going to share the screen here. These are two different statements for approving the CIS. These are both summaries. I don't think that we can recommend, because there is that the problem is with the city of Los Angeles is that you can't recommend a particular organization be the one that works with the city. There has to be a competition process, as far as I know, in the end, but I would say that we might recommend advice from the Green Zone Alliance, and that They help.
Well, and it's also what is that definition or the benchmark they're trying to create? Because every county is going to be a little different.
Every
I
city.
imagine.
Well,
Yeah. Every
again,
neighborhood can be a little different. So what I'm questioning because, okay, this is American Green Zone Alliance. Okay, I'm gonna find out more about them. Yes, they did the city of South Pasadena and they're great.
They
What can
they don't have equipment. It's not like it's a company that is selling equipment. What they
no,
did,
they're selling consultancies. They're selling the service and they're selling certifications. I'm looking at them right now online.
correct.
So I'm reading it off of it for you.
So they're not.
To transition the environmental lens for symposium, so forth, and cost analysis. That's what they do.
Okay. This is. So Mary, once again, yes, it is a certification organization. They don't sell equipment. They chose. They helped, yes, to model what equipment should be used for a particular park. It worked out very well, and then it continued on for the rest of the parks within South Pasadena. With that pilot program, I suggest that we say something along the lines of the Northwest Neighborhood Council recommends advice from the American Green Zone Alliance, and the city allow the organization to provide assistance with provide assistance with their zero emissions maintenance equipment pilot project in order to avoid common problems that may arise in transitioning untrained staff. AGSA is the certification organization that helped the city of South Pasadena achieve their groundbreaking zero emissions operations for all city properties. And through their consultancy, the city of South Pass's program was a success. The Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council supports the city's pilot program. It supports research and a pilot program. And what was that bit, Alan?
What was what bit?
You had a bit about 60 or 90 days.
I don't think that was me,
Oh,
but
was it? It was Christian then. Okay. Um,
yeah, Christian, I think, mentioned 60 days.
Yeah, I said in case if you're interested in supporting it, then
yeah,
60 or 90 days is more doable.
yes. Yeah. 30 days is kind of, recommends one. An extension.
But in general, I have a question
Yes.
about if we should actually recommend AGZA because this is a for-profit company. Again, I don't know much about it. I understand South Pasadena and other cities have used them and have hired them. Other players that could also be in play. So I'm not sure if we need to be careful just to recommend one organization over none. Does that
Okay.
make sense? Is
So
that a
allow
concern for people? Please.
sounds like a friendly amendment. Allow an organization like the American Green Zone Alliance
Mhm.
to provide assistance with their zero emissions maintenance equipment pilot project with a pilot project in order to avoid common problems that may arise in transitioning untrained staff. A certification organization, not an equipment manufacturer. Okay. All right. Thanks, Tom. That's it. So what do you think of this,
Okay.
Mary? Okay. The Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council recommends an extension of time for Parks and Recs to come up with a plan to 60 to 90 days. Allow an organization like the American Green Zone Alliance to provide assistance with a zero emission maintenance equipment pilot project in order to avoid common problems that may arise in transitioning untrained staff. Help here. AGSA is a certification organization, not an equipment manufacturer. If there are other comparable organizations, the list should be provided to Parks and Rec. The Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council supports a partnership in a pilot program and urges the City Council to support a pilot program. Or supports a partnership and urges the City Council to support a pilot program. Sound good?
I think number
Could I
two, maybe,
just, could I suggest that the name of the department is Recreation and Parks,
Oh,
not Parks
Yeah.
and Rec or Recs? So they would probably be more receptive if we refer to the.
the right.
The right name.
Yeah, well, I would have fixed that. Yeah, okay. Rec and
Good
Parks.
call, Herbie.
Rec and Parks. Yeah. Okay.
I also suggest that actually number 3 is number 2.
Yes, I see.
Meaning,
Yep.
because we really just want to support that. There's that the city also, we want something that's going to happen, and we want to and just perhaps suggest an organization as such, because they're not only a certification organization, they actually are a consultancy company, Gwen.
Mhm.
They just give a certificate because I guess it's just part of something that's more concrete. And I think we're speaking too in depth about something we don't need to. That's my 2 cents. Thank you. To simplify it, that's what I want it to be.
I think you make a good point.
Okay, so I am omitting that.
Because I don't even know if we need to put in AGZA, because it seems like we really want you guys to work with them, and we're not any part of that. I have never worked with them. I don't know anybody there. I don't feel comfortable.
I agree.
recommend this company at all.
Yes, that's been the difficult discussion with that, is that it does put it actually goes against the rules of the city of Los Angeles to put a company above others.
Oh,
Yeah. All right.
so
So here we go. And I moved things around and did the amendments as advised. So the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council recommends an extension of time for Parks and
Rec and Park.
Rec and Parks to come up with a plan to 60 to 90 day, with a plan, a deadline extension of time for Rec and Parks to come up with a plan to 60 to 90 days. The Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council supports the transition of landscaping equipment for all LA City's recreation and parks areas to be electric rather than, or zero emission, rather than environmentally harmful gas petroleum powered equipment. And Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council urges the City Council to support a pilot program. Sound good?
You can eliminate
Direct.
the gas petroleum, or is that a backslash? Is that what you wrote? Oh, yeah. Ben?
Alan, is there more than just gasoline powered equipment? Are there other petroleum products?
Well,
I think there are,
I
like
don't-
diesel, isn't there?
Yeah, there are diesel, probably some natural gas, but it's mostly gas powered. I can't think of any coal powered equipment.
Yeah.
You forgot zero, just a ZE.
ZE is
And then you
zero
have to put
emission.
RO.
ZE is a standard term for zero emission.
Oh, excuse me. I learned
Well,
something.
I think Mary's making a good point that we can't assume that everybody is familiar with that abbreviation, so
Okay, there we go.
it can be
Thank you.
helpful.
Because
to
we
write
have
it
to be
out.
very clear when we write these
Yes,
very specific recommendations to everyone to be understandable. Thank you so much for your support. Maybe the first sentence, the deadline extension of 60 to 90 days, instead of having to 60, 90 days at the end. So it's very clear. Thank you. And I think you can eliminate of time, Gwen, because we're specifically saying 60 to 90 days. Thank you. Does that read better, everyone?
Reads pretty good to me.
Yep.
that's good. Better, definitely.
All right. Anyone motion to pass the CIS as written?
I'll
Not
motion.
me.
Oh, well, we got to approve it. Yeah, we also, but there will also be,
Hello?
hold on. I think we missed, approves.
Says and deadline, so it's a small change.
No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. With recommendations. Approves them with recommendations. Okay. Okay. The Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council approves the motion with recommendations. 1, a deadline extension to 60 to 90 days for rec and parks to come up with a plan. The Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council supports the transition. Or actually, that would be right there. Sorry, guys. Because that is the support of it as written. Approves the motion. To transition. Okay. Further recommend. Okay. Sorry, guys. That really was the support. The Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council approves the motion to transition landscaping equipment for all LA City's recreation and parks areas to use zero emission rather than environmentally harmful petroleum-powered equipment. We also recommend a deadline extension to 60 to 90 days for rec and parks to come up with a plan, and Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council urges the City Council to support a pilot program.
But where? In LA County? In, do we want?
In
Mhm.
well, they shouldn't be asking Rec and Parks to roll out at every single one of their parks a transition plan. They should have a pilot program with a partnership. That's where AGSA provided great a great partnership in helping them to transition over without waste of purchasing equipment that they don't need and coming up with a solution for those parks. So a sample program, a pilot program, is probably the best thing to do for a very large city like Los
Oh, no,
Angeles.
I understand that. Maybe to support a pilot program, eventually the LA County can adopt later on, something like that, because we're not just in it for a pilot program. We wanted to eventually do this throughout LA counties, right?
Yeah.
Do we have to say that? Because this is really our intent. It's not, hey, let's just try it. We want to do it. Let's do it.
Yes.
Because our sustainability committee is to want it to be as sustainable as possible in general. I think we all get that, but just writing it like this, perhaps people might not get it. That's my 2 cents.
For the pilot program, well, that's where we get into that whole AGSA thing again.
And eventually,
But leading to wider expansion of the program.
Yeah, leading, there you go, leading to
thank you.
wider expansion of the program. Beautiful.
Thank you.
And at the risk of recomplicating things, would it make sense in bullet point 1 at the end where it says to come up with a plan to specify that just after a comma, including an inventory of petroleum powered equipment and the feasibility of transitioning each type of equipment, so that it's not just a vague notion, but we want them to look at leaf blowers and lawnmowers and different kinds of equipment, trucks.
That's a very, very good idea.
Yeah. To have very specific, it will help them for us to give more specifics for sure.
Yeah, they must have an inventory of the equipment that they use, and the chances are some of them can be transitioned quickly, some of them may take longer, but if we add some verbiage to that effect, which I would just tack on at the end of bullet point 1, either way.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm trying to recreate what you just said. For Parks and Recs to create an inventory list.
Well, that's what an inventory is.
Of their gas-powered equipment.
With an assessment of the feasibility of transitioning each type of equipment to non-polluting alternatives.
Does that read well?
Yeah, I don't have my glasses on.
Okay. So you said deadline. So just after 1, a deadline extension to 60 to 90 days for Rec and Parks to come up with a plan. We recommend that Rec and Parks create an inventory.
Well, that would be part of the plan, would be including an inventory.
Including.
Yeah, it could be just part of 1.
Yeah. Including
and then just jump from there to the,
creation of okay. We also recommend a deadline extension to 60 to 90 days for rec and parks to come up with a plan, including creation of an inventory of the gas-powered equipment with an assessment of the feasibility of transitioning each type of equipment to the zero emission alternative. Okay, let me get rid of that. Transitioning to okay, I fixed it. There seems to be a repetition of a word.
Yep.
Creation of a gas-powered equipment inventory. Building.
how about gas and diesel
Yeah,
powered?
there you go. Oh, it's not. Why does it keep popping over there?
You had it.
It's not clicking. Okay, hold. Maybe I can use the arrow. No? What is it doing? Wow.
You have a bad mouse.
And
There
yeah,
you go.
I had to use the
I would-
arrows.
Yeah.
To okay, yeah, a deadline extension. Okay, we also recommend a deadline extension to 60 to 90 days for rec and parks to come up with a plan, including creation of an inventory of the gas and diesel powered equipment with an assessment of the feasibility of transitioning to the zero emission alternative. And Northwest San Pedro
We
neighborhood
could probably
council.
in retrospect, we could probably take out the assessment and just go straight to feasibility.
Yeah, okay. For? Is that the right for the feasibility? Yeah,
No, the,
trying to think of the preposition.
yeah.
Including the creation of an inventory of the gas and diesel powered equipment.
Indicating the feasibility of transitioning, but
Or directing the feasibility.
Which would direct,
well, it's not directing the feasibility.
would I'm having a thesaurus brain moment. Christian, you got an idea? Which would blah blah the feasibility of transitioning to the zero emission alternative, which would,
I think indicating or specifying instead of which would be my,
Yeah.
well, I'm trying to think of like leading. It leads to the feasibility. It brings it. It provides the information in order to.
Just like providing.
well, if we're telling them to transition and telling them to come up with an inventory indicating the feasibility of transitioning,
Yeah.
I think that's essentially what we want.
Okay. Indicating the feasibility of transitioning to the zero emission alternative. All right. We're at 7:57. This is it. This is the sentence. A deadline extension to 60 to 90 days for rec and parks to come up with a plan, including creation of an inventory of the gas and diesel powered equipment, indicating the feasibility of transitioning to the zero emission alternative.
I guess you could say which will inform the feasibility.
There
or-
you go. Yes.
But that indicating it works.
Which would
Well,
form.
It's very similar.
That's,
yeah,
that's, that's
the
a very good.
feasibility, well,
I
the
would
fe-
add.
the feasibility is independent of, their opinion. It's either it's feasible or it's not feasible.
That's true.
That's true. I think they just have to figure it out then. So which would,
Inform, but I like
yeah, I guess
Would
allow them to
inform-
figure out then, or
inform.
discover,
Okay,
right?
inform,
Discover.
how about inform a strategy for transitioning?
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, I like that.
Yes. Woo! Which would inform.
You might-
I
Yeah.
think it should be to transition instead of transitioning to
Or-
transition.
2 or 4.
Or in transitioning,
Okay, that would be good too. That would work.
in transitioning.
I'm trying to click into it. It's acting funny. Transition.
Probably need the word the in front of
Twos.
translation.
You got to discipline your mouse.
We got a 2-2. We got a 2-2 here, which would inform the strategy
In transition.
for trans.
We're transitioning it.
Oh God, why are you going and flying over there? Wait, what are you doing? Which would inform the strategy for transitioning to the zero emission alternative. All right, a deadline extension to 60 to 90 days for rec and parks to come up with a plan, including creation of an inventory of the gas and diesel powered equipment, which would inform the strategy for transitioning to the zero emission alternative. Beautiful. Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council urges the City Council to support a pilot program leading to wider expansion of the program. Of the thesaurus time. Well, we're at 8 o'clock. With an amendment of one program being changed, does anybody motion for it to be accepted as is? And I will send ideas to get rid of the double program, or if anybody wants to do that, we can accept it as is with a minor amendment to get rid of the program sentence.
Madam Chair, I think
How
that
about a pilot project?
Project. Thank you.
yeah, or even with the summary, I don't think that you need necessarily number 2, because I think the summary indicates that you're in support of it in general already. But if you need to specifically say it, I guess you could. I think it's a little redundant, though.
I like the idea of a pilot project so long as it's clear that the intent is to use that as a springboard.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Be
Okay.
very nice for this.
I think it's very nice. You guys, this was great wordsmithing. Summary: the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council approves the motion to transition landscaping equipment for all LA City's recreation and park areas to use zero emission rather than environmentally harmful petroleum powered equipment. We also recommend a deadline extension to 60 to 90 days for rec and parks to come up with a plan, including creation of an inventory of all the gas and diesel powered equipment, which would inform the strategy for transitioning to the zero emission alternative. And Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council urges the City Council to support a pilot project leading to wider expansion of the program.
I'm not voting for that.
Tom, are you still on?
Roman.
Tom, are you still on the call? Because we're
I am, yes, I am.
Oh my
Enjoying
goodness. You're enjoying it. Okay, well, it is past 8, so let's make a vote. Anybody motion to vote as
Motion.
it's, okay, and a second. Come on,
I'll
Tom.
second. I
Awesome.
just did.
I've got a duplicate on that, and it'll be easy for my notes. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And aye. The ayes have it. We're good. So thank you so much, you guys. 2 CISs. That's nice to see.
Oh, I do also wanted to say, I did make a quick Facebook post graphic I like to share with everyone. So it's about
Okay.
April 22nd of the annual Earth Day.
Are you still a co-host?
I
You
don't have-
are. I think
don't
you.
have it.
Oh, you don't have it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you
I mean,
all.
I have it here. Yeah, but because not everybody has a video, they can't see it anyways, Gwen. I prefer to perhaps download it, share with you by email. You can share with everyone if that's the protocol.
Sounds
Thank you.
good.
Yeah,
Sounds
if I may add on the subject of Earth Day, since it's on a
Yes.
Thursday, the
Next-
Land
next Thursday.
Conservancy is observing it on the nearest Saturday, the 24th.
Mhm.
And we are having a socially distanced volunteer day that you can sign up to participate in. And we're having a native plant sale.
Oh, you
It's
have
already full, Alan. I checked on that
Yeah.
earlier. It's full. We
Yeah.
can't sign up anymore.
For the volunteering or for
Yeah.
the plant sale?
Volunteer.
Just so you know,
Okay.
Alan, I did mention that you guys were always have an Earth Day volunteering session and to explore that at the board meeting. So I volunteered that for you.
Thank you.
Nice to hear about a plant sale.
Yeah, you have to order the plants on sale and you just pick them up on Saturday. So if you go to pvplc.org, you can go to the plant sale, and at this point, I think they're running low on some species because there have been a fair number of orders, but they still have an assortment.
Well, I have ordered 2 Dutchman pipe vine plants, and I've been working on my fence line, ripping out all of the old morning glory, which is a mess.
You have native morning glories, which are pretty nice.
Yeah, the white ones. I've
The
seen
white
them
one
at
with
Rancho
the
Park.
tip.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. But I'm going to be going and picking that up at the Santa Barbara
Botanical garden.
Botanical Garden. Thank you.
Okay, well, we got them here, and there's also wild grapes, the Writer's Red.
Oh, yay!
But
You have them?
Oh, it's beautiful.
You have the wild grapes available?
I know Theodore Payne has them, and usually
Yeah.
the Santa Monica Mountains chapter of California Native Plant Society has them. They probably have them up at the Botanical Garden in Santa Barbara. It's technically not clear that it's entirely a native. It looks like it may be a hybrid. It was first found up in Sonoma.
Interesting. Because I did see a sampling of a native grape. It was barely edible, but it was over at the Angeles National Forest. As you go up, there's an entrance ranger station as you go up the road.
Yeah, I've got 2 of the Rogers Reds in my yard, and they do have seeds.
Yeah, there's
Mhm.
pretty seedy.
But they have good flavor. So if you have a wine press, you can use them for that. Or you can use them to practice spitting, to spit your seeds. Since we can't do that with watermelons anymore.
You know what I heard today was very interesting is that there is such thing as grape skin leather.
Mm,
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna go check it out. I don't know. My friend just told me about it. Somehow they're making, I guess, a material that copies of leather, but it's from
it's
grape
got to be painful
skins.
for the grapes.
We're gonna eat them anyway, so it's very sustainable. Vegan for the vegetarian vegan who don't use leather in their
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how how durable that material is.
Well, we have been done with our meeting. I'm glad everybody just decided to sit and chat for a while, but I say adieu to all of you. Thank you, Tom, for being a real trooper on the phone.
Good night,
I don't
everyone.
contribute that
Completing
much.
the quorum.
So glad. And thank you for the quorum. Yeah. Thank you all.
Good to hear
And
from you,
Okay,
Christian,
thank
even if
you.
I can't see you.
yeah, there's a lot of exciting things happening.
Yeah. Good night, Marion and Gwen.
Bye. Good night.
Talk to you soon.